y'all, I'm Angela and today was day 3 of NaNo. So today was definitely a hard one, and I'm apprehensive saying that because we are obviously super early in the process, but I don't think that pretending that it wasn't hard will actually help, and the goal of this is to sort of document the experience. So yeah, part of I think what's challenging is that I'm going a little bit stir crazy at this point. We've been at least quasi mostly pretty seriously like self-isolating or quarantining in my household for 3.5 months now. And now it's like hard to go on walks and things during the day because it's Texas in July and it's super hot. And also the COVID situation, along with other situations in my state at this point, is not great. So also all of those things sort of offer less flexibility. And I also think that I was just sort of getting like stuck in the story. Part of it I was realizing as I just finished wrapping up, it's like 6-ish now, and today actually I didn't write 2,000 words, which has sort of been my goal. I wrote like 1,900, but like I think that's fine. Making myself write that last 100 words didn't feel useful. They were not going to be a helpful 100 words, so I stopped. So basically there's a few things happening. Thing number one that I realized as I gave up on my last 100 words is that part of what I'm having to do here, essentially, is start my story 3 times, because this is my second ever novel. My first novel just had one protagonist, was in first person. Now I have 3 main characters, right? And so I'm having to like introduce each of them and introduce their conflict, and basically instead of building on momentum, I am just taking the pressure of like starting a story over and over and over. So I think that that is probably part of what's challenging. Basically this morning I got on a live stream right away, which was great, and I was working on my second chapter and my second point of view character, and I love him, and so it was really fun. And I had already started this chapter the day before, and I was about 1,500 words in when I realized that if I thought about the world for more than 3 seconds, the current scenario wouldn't work. Like, all of the conflict would still work if that makes sense, but none of actually what I had written makes sense in the world and the way that things would happen. So that was sort of bad for morale, although I do feel like I learned stuff about the characters in the world, obviously, in the writing process. But so I stopped, and then I switched over to my third chapter, or my third like character, after a little bit of a break. But part of what I was realizing as well, and part of what I'm trying to like shift in my understanding of NaNo, is that I've really been ignoring my writing process and how I write. So I definitely like am an outliner, in that I like to go into a story having done a good amount of world building, having done a good amount of outlining. For this particular project, I used Brandon Sanderson's outlining method that he talks about in his BYU course, which I think I will link somewhere, the video that I made talking about that process. So I come into this with an outline, but it's like sort of a very sketchy, big picture outline. A thing that I already know about myself, at least in the way that I write now, is that when I sit down to work, what I want to do first is actually write like a really detailed outline and then go back and write the stuff, because I don't like figuring things out as I go. And then what happens is like what happened this morning, where I write 1,500 words with these characters, and it turns out that I'm like slightly wrong in terms of where the chapter is going, and so then everything's screwed up, and that is not my favorite. And so I know that like the way that I like working is that first I do like a really detailed like outline of the scene first, and then I move into it. But I haven't been doing that because obviously NaNo is like very concerned often with word count, and I am counting words this time, right? So like I wanted to be able to use all of my words, so I typed out an outline first, and then I started writing the scene. I felt like that wouldn't count as words. Like I would have to then go back and delete that outline because I don't need it anymore, and then I've lost however many words that was. But that's just like not authentic to my process. So basically going forward, I'm gonna let myself just count all of the outline words. I do delete a lot as I write because I tend to write in like 3 or 4 different parts of the chapter at once, and often at the end they'll just be like 6 or 7 sentences or phrases that just make 0 sense anymore. So I'm not like gonna be saving those, because I do want to be using this to be making a good amount of progress in this project. I'm just going to start letting myself work the way that I work, which means that I'm going to start counting those outline words as part of the work. Basically, I think I just had like 2 false starts today, because if I'm being honest, the chapter that I was working on after I gave up on my second chapter is also bad. That chapter was a Corin chapter, so basically I've got 3 main characters. I have Anais, Ledger, and Corin. And I do think that I started Corin's chapter in the wrong place. So I need to redo that. The other thing is that I'm just having a hard time getting back into drafting mode and getting back into letting things suck. Definitely really intimidated about working in a world that is basically all one that I've built. And I'm writing about really personal stuff, which is challenging. And then also, like, I like really complicated political stuff. So also while I'm writing, I both feel that my stuff is not complicated enough, and then also I feel like my stuff is too complicated and really boring. So there's just like all of the voices happening, which is a natural, normal part of writing. And I know this, and I know that this is how drafting goes. But it's been a long time since I've drafted, and I'm still just trying to transition into that mindset. I might go back to Anais, because I know what I'm doing with her, or I might end up trying to rewrite the Ledger chapter, honestly, the one that I wrote 1,500 words of, and then they were just bad. Yeah, I don't know. I might need some space from Corin. We'll see. Which, I expected him to be the difficult one, so that's fine. So yeah, we'll just see where I pick up. But I'm going to start letting myself use my actual writing process in the way that I know that I like to write, instead of trying to force myself into some weird box based on my definition of what should count for word count. Because, like, I'm not going to be finishing a novel this month anyway. So, why should I force myself to churn out crap instead of allowing myself to properly process and write things? I think I'm mostly excited again, having talked this out. I, like, don't know that I feel like I'm intellectually excited again anyway. I don't know that I'm emotionally excited in this moment, but hopefully come tomorrow I will be. And for all that I think that it's terrible, I do really like this story. So that's good. If you are doing camp or just working on stuff generally, let me know how that is going down in the comments. If you want to give this video a little thumbs up or click that subscribe button, I sure would appreciate it. And that's about it for me for now, folks. So yeah, bye lovelies, happy writing, be well.